worked with Henry in 2015 to design this bike for PBP, but also this bike, Henry does absolutely everything on it, so it's not just a PBP specific bike. And when we talk about the best bike for PBP, it is different than what Henry has, except this is a bike that's great for everyone. So it's absolutely true, there isn't the perfect PBP bike. There is optimizing the ride, there's comfort is extremely important, and it's trying to maximize your chances of finishing. So there's a lot to this bike that I think is interesting to point out, and everyone makes their own decisions. We're in the business of never making the same bike twice. There is one bike that looks just like this in the world, and it's perfect for Henry, and this is what allowed him to finish PBP. And it's worth noting that Henry was 2 years into cycling when you did PBP?
A little bit more. I think I was 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, so still pretty new into cycling when he decided to do PBP. So, what you see here is, we talked about carrying capacity, we need stuff. I realize now we need room for a chicken.
I have a variation on that. I thought I want to eat real food, so I had a bag full of beef jerky, all kinds of healthy, dried fruits, and I had espresso beans, and so this bag was basically, because I did it on the series, so then I did, based on the series, I sort of, okay, I had, my bag was about, this was for the 200K, this big for 300K, this big for 400, this big for 600. So when I did PBP, it's sort of, this bag was sort of like piling out with one bag of beef jerky and everything in there, and it was nicely sitting there together for a couple of days. And after 2 days, I took that bag, put it in the dumpster, and started having nice French bread, brie. The rice puddings are really good. Because basically you eat in schools, and they have really good restaurants in there, and you just beer at night. So I'm trying to sell it a little bit more than Jake does. But yeah, don't forget me wrong. It was hard in the sense that you have these different levels where you have to go through. So what I found is in the beginning, you went, okay, I have to think about hydration, and then now you've come into the longer rides. Now you got to think about your food. In PBP was the first time I ran into sleep deprivation, and the mistake I think I made looking back now, and I'm going to do it different this year, is that I went there I think 2 or 3 days ahead, I think, and I thought. And the start is at 6 o'clock in the evening, which is sort of not what I'm used to, because our rides always start early in the morning, so this is 12 hours earlier. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay in US time. And then, so I go to bed late, and then wake up late, so that then on Sunday night it would sort of be going to be great. Well, what happened was I went to bed late, woke up early, and I was totally sleep deprived by the time I actually started this. So then the first day I rode about 24 hours straight. Of course I stopped for food and stuff. And then I was about almost in rest, and then I was really tired. But it was too early for my schedule. It was like 8 in the evening. And I told myself I could sleep 3 hours. So I slept 3 hours, woke up at 11. And that was a mistake. I should have just slept 6 hours. Because now I was riding from 11, and by the time it was 3 o'clock in the morning, I was moving around the road like this, and wasn't pretty. But like I said, you gotta keep rolling, and that's what I did. It was very slow. I ended up experiencing micro sleeps. I've never had that before, but that was basically that your own pedal wakes you up. So while in your pedal stroke, you fall asleep, but then the pedal sort of clumps, and it wakes you up. That's the weirdest experience. So then after that, I slept another night for 3 hours, and so by the end, I definitely slowed down. What I found is that in the beginning, people are very enthusiastic, riding fast, and in the beginning I thought, shall I resist it or shall I just go with it? And I decided to just go with it and hang out as much as I could in the groups and sort of leverage other people's enthusiasm. And that worked out really well because that gave me a big buffer, and in the end I finished in just over 74 hours, so I left Sunday night and I was back on Wednesday.
Sorry, go ahead.
So about the bike, the bags, they're all dill pickle gear, but I really like them. They have all kinds of pockets in there. In my bag, I typically have a chargeable battery and phone on the side. I have, the rest is all food in here. Bottles.
It bears noting that he could put a third bottle cage on his bike too, so you can carry 3 bottles of wine.
And then in the end, it wasn't needed because typically about every 40 to 45 miles there's a control so you can refill. Then I have the also local light. I didn't have that back then, but it is charged by the hub generator. And it also has a USB charger that allows me to power my Garmin and phone. So during the day I would power stuff and recharge things, and at night I can't have them go at the same time. So at night I would have the light. During the day I would recharge stuff. And then this bag is more like this when it's actually filled up. And there I have more clothes. So and riding at night, even in France, in the summer, it was like 40 degrees, even below 40 degrees. I remember seeing folks from warmer countries, India, Indonesia, and they had to bail the first night because they were not used to the temperature. And even though the weather was really mild in that sense, I had no rain at all, whereas there's been other editions where there was full rain, is my understanding. So hopefully this year, I hope to get my 2015 weather back. But, then the other thing is saddle. So this is a saddle I'm going to try. I use on the ride itself, I use the Stella Anatomica. I don't know if you've ever seen one. It's a leather saddle. It's sort of like a hammock. The downside I found of that one is sort of like when you're riding it, sort of the hammock is getting lower and lower, and you adjust. So I found a little bit too much variability in. So I'm going to try this one this spring. See how it goes.
Okay, so there's more to this bike than, like, there's the obvious features. He's got a frame pump, so it's easy and quick to get air, and you don't know how many times you're going to fly it when you're out there. It's a custom position, that's comfortable. And a titanium frame, that's a comfortable material. So while there's no right or wrong, again, this is maximizing comfort and reducing the risk of frame breakage, which if that happens, your ride is going to be cut short, or almost worse yet, if you develop a creak somewhere, like if you have a bad bottom bracket or something like that, you're gonna go mad. You don't want anything that's going to absolutely drive you to insanity. So those are certain things to consider. Having handlebars in the right place. This is not a particularly aggressive geometry. And Henry races cyclocross on this bike, but this is not a particularly aggressive geometry because that would cause shoulder pain and back pain and all that sorts of things, which is not ideal. Full fenders, that's great. Probably getting wet anyway, but anything, again, to try to protect you and make it just a little bit more pleasant can be nice. You're not worrying quite as much about your time. He's got really big tires, which is nice because that's comfort. That's protecting you from the pave that you're going to head out there.
My Cadillac.
Yeah, a smooth ride really starts to pay off after a really long period of time.
Tubes or tubeless?
So at the moment, it's actually a mix of both. That's tubeless. That's I got a tube in there, but it has sealant in the inner tube. It's because I had trouble sealing it in front of it. I'm still thinking about. So I did PBP. on that setup, with the tube, I had no flats. But I think I haven't traveled with tubeless yet because it's a little bit of it can be messy. And at the moment I'm thinking just to use tubes because it's because of the mess of sealant, and sometimes the mounting is not doing what you always want, where the tires have their own wheel and
you may not have a compressor on you.
yeah. Well, yeah. And this pump will not get that pressure out.
Yeah. Tubeless is great when it's working well. When it fails or you have a problem, it's a really big problem. It's something when you're self-supporting is not ideal. So, yeah, tubes, tried and true, very easy to change, very easy to get replacement tubes. And to use more standard equipment means it's easier to find a tube out there. Yeah. And what if you need a spare part?
There's also the reason I don't have hydraulic brakes. I want to have for cyclocross, I really should have hydraulic brakes because they're more acute and precise. But just because of the maintenance, and if something happens with it, a cable you can replace, and I don't see myself messing around with oil 3 o'clock in the morning somewhere on the side of the road.
And then hand-built wheels, same thing. If you break a spoke, one, you have a high enough spoke count that if you break a spoke, who cares, throw it away, keep riding. You don't do anything about it. And then if you do need to replace a spoke, you can. And you have your replacement spokes in your seat post, hiding away in your frame, and you're able to take care of your own problems. But also hand-built wheel because the front wheel is a generator wheel, so you need to have that. Great. So those are all considerations. The more choices you can make that allow you to fix your own bike if something goes wrong because you don't know what could go wrong. And hydraulic brakes are great when you're riding near a bike shop. And when you know the mechanic's working, who can help out. So that's definitely a good consideration. And then a lot of people will say, well, disc brakes or rim brakes. Whatever you want. They both work really well.
Jake had a disc brake and a rim brake both on the same front wheel with 4 brake levers.
Wow. You never have too many brakes.
Yeah.
Or you ride fixed gear and don't have any brakes at all.
Well, it wasn't fixed. 4 brakes on one wheel with a fixed gear.
When you're riding along, you don't want to be braking with your legs. We're not doing skid marks and stuff.
I will say I did up to a 400K with only one front brake, and your one arm gets really tired. So it's good to have both
No, my
hands.
previous bike I had the rim brakes, and in rough weather I really quickly realized that it's they don't work at some point. But with cyclocross, I noticed you can also run out of your brake pads. I had in one race brake pads totally gone, so that can happen too.
Extra equipment too that you can replace.
Yep.
Well, I think we've talked about orange. Another thing, aesthetic. You gotta like this bike. You're gonna be taking a lot of pictures of it when you're stopping by the side of the road. It's not all dark all the time. You want to take your photography. You want to like what you see. And to Henry, orange is the color of fast. And I bet you everybody in this room believes they have a different color or something else they want to see that makes them feel faster.
Red ones
makes
go
you
faster.
Feel like what you or black in your case.
Orange is the color of our royal house.
So there's that too. Again, it's all personal preference, but it's trying to maximize your enjoyment of getting to PBP and then completing PBP very happily. Anything else?
Although Melinda just reminded me that I actually back then said that I was never going to do it again.
One and done. One and done, that's the word.
Yeah.
We have a word we call randomnesia.